What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, June 30th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
What is going on, man? I am super excited to be here. Listen, I think we're getting ready to start the best June we've had in a long, long time. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Well, maybe I would disagree because it's the last day of June.
Okay, July. Let's start over.
That could show you how bad June's been if you think it's gonna start right now.
Oh, I totally botched that. I think we're getting ready for the best July we've ever had. How about that?
Yes, I agree. And tell us why.
Okay, this weekend is a huge surprise. Like, I know with the Stephen Foster's always a big race, but it drew really well. You got two horses that are ranked in the top 6 of the first Breeders' Cup rankings. It's in the Stephen Foster. You got another one who could jump in with a win, or even a couple that could jump in with a win. You've got Life is Good for Speaker's Corner at Belmont, just out of nowhere. We get that.
We don't know how that happened, but it did.
The Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint winner is running and defending her title in the Princess Rooney at Gulfstream. So great stuff. This weekend is much better than I thought it would be. Next weekend is Belmont Oaks and Belmont Derby Day. That's always fantastic at Belmont. It's one of their best cards. Next week is also the Indiana Derby. Next week is also the racing the Iowa Festival of Racing. And before you laugh, last year the Breeders' Cup Classic winner was at the Iowa Festival of Racing. So we'll see if that comes back to be really, really good again. You would think it's going to. The next weekend is Saratoga and all that comes with that. Obviously very exciting. The next weekend, now we're to July 23rd, you've got the Haskell with the 3-year-olds coming back, the big-time 3-year-olds. And you got the Coaching Club American Oaks that's going to have Secret Oath and Nest, potentially. And then, oh, by the way, the last weekend, also more stuff and more fun from Saratoga, the Jim Dandy. You got the Vanderbilt. You got the Bing Crosby at Del Mar. You got San Diego at Del Mar. This is going to be an incredible July.
Dude, I mean, how could you not be excited about that kind of all that racing coming up? And not to mention, Bob Baffert gets off suspension, so who knows what kind of mix he's going to add into that, right?
That's right. Sunday, he's back Sunday.
I saw the picture you sent. Him and Taba were posing, so that was good to see him with Taba again. And but no, you're right. And honestly, you didn't even mention the Dwyer with Charge It this weekend, and that one was kind of like, oh, because the Dwyer's you're excited about the Dwyer a little bit because you don't know what Charge It. We haven't seen him since the Derby, and he had minor surgery since then because he displaced his palate. So it's like, what is he going to be? And obviously, this has got to be a prep towards. That's the thing about this weekend, I think, is. And not just this weekend, but just last weekend, last couple of weeks, this time period is that we're in such a middle ground of getting ready for the next step. You talked about the Life is Good in Johnny Nerude. This is a step to the Whitney, which is a step to the Classic. And obviously Charge It has bigger plans than running the Dwyer, and of course, the Stephen Foster, what comes from that. So it just seems like we're in that perfect time, and even with the 3-year-olds and Tawny Port and what we saw last week and 2 weeks ago and all those kind of like everyone's kind of rebuilding back up to where they're going towards, of course, is the Breeders' Cup and all that comes with that in the fall.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of if you're looking at it from a Triple Crown or Kentucky Derby perspective, this is like the first round of preps, right? So, and we're getting them this weekend. I forgot to mention the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner is also back. He's in an ungraded stakes, the Kelly's Landing, race 9 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. I say back, he's ran a couple times this year, but Aloha West is running as well. So, former Breeders' Cup winners and Breeders' Cup hopefuls galore this weekend. And again, it snuck up on me because I was like, yeah, this weekend's okay. And then we really get going. And then the cards come out and it's like, damn, we got some good stuff going on. Also, July 4th, obviously holiday. Great racing on that day. And we get a bonus day, a Monday holiday racing day. So it's definitely my mind's on overload right now. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's I did the preview a little bit ago for the we'll talk about the neighborhood a little bit coming up on Rapid Fire, but it was like is this like the Met Mile Part 2? I mean, it feels a little bit like it. It's, because that race was a 2-horse race and you had the speed set up, and we'll talk a lot about that coming up. And then here goes Speaker's Corner again, but he's to face Life is Good, who, by the way, gets the same jockey that was on Flightline because Irad suspended and has the same kind of running style as Flightline and might be as fast as Flight. We don't know. We'll see. But still, like, there's so many similarities. And it's like, I feel like I just talked about this race, but no, that was the Met Mile. So certainly an interesting race for what would normally well, not normally, I guess, but a lot of times you could say, well, the neighborhood is just, and up until a couple, like, what was it, earlier this week, late last week, you kind of thought this is just like Life is Good. It's going to romp. He's coming back. Who cares? It's on the bigger and better things after that. But then it's like, oh, Speaker's in this race. So all of a sudden it makes it interesting.
For sure. Yeah. Like I said, that's just a bonus, gets dropped in our lap. Wait a second. Life is Good is going to be in that race. That's cool. What? They've entered Speaker's Corner? What is happening? So off 3 weeks rest was a little bit of a shock. And you kind of get just a showdown in race 4 Saturday at Belmont. I don't know why they put it as race 4, but you get kind of the showdown there. And what a little bonus is how I like to look at it. We knew Churchill would probably have some pretty good races, but like I said, you're thinking Life is Good back, and the John Nurud, he'll be 1-9, and then they drop Speaker's Corner in there, and Life is Good will still be a short price, but makes things a lot more interesting.
Yeah, you get the Fleur de Lis as well at Churchill, which is not a Breeders' Cup. Didn't it used to be a Breeders' Cup for the distaff?
Like it. Yeah,
I think it was because a lot of times you'd have like big time horses running in that were going, but no, it's not this year. But Stephen Foster is the Breeders' Cup winner in for the Classic, and like you said, I mean, there's 2 legit. We do the rankings for the Breeders' Cup, and there's 2 in the top 6 that are in this race, but a couple that aren't, that definitely would be if they were to win here. And so I kind of mentioned it in my preview video I did. Like, I think there's 4, maybe even 5 horses you can make cases for that could win this thing, and because it's just an interesting race when you're, like you said, you kind of have the flight line, and we don't know what he's going to do stretching out Olympiad, but Olympiad has been so good, but he just hasn't got that top level win yet. And then you've got like American Revolution, and it's like he's got to be better than he was last time. And what's Mandaloon? Like, Mandaloon is like the most interesting horse because we really don't know what he is. He's, you know what I mean? Like he's a horse that like somehow wins races by never winning the race. He's done it a couple times. He finds ways to, run poorly at times. He of course, he went over and it did not run well overseas, and now he's back. So you just don't know what he is. He certainly has a high ceiling, but he seems like a horse you could play against here, which makes it interesting. We'll talk about that coming up, but it's like you said, it's for what it is for the weekend we thought we might get. It's certainly, maybe that's the key, right? You just under promise, over deliver.
I'm sure Twitter, if you get on there, they'll tell you how terrible everything is.
Oh, yeah.
But it's super good, and I think we're just, like I said, the Belmont card next week's one of the better cards they have all year, and then we're on to Saratoga and Del Mar. So it's awesome, and I'm excited. And listen, anytime you get great racing and it starts on Thursday and ends on Monday, that's also great. I love the Monday holiday. Sometimes 4th of July obviously will fall on a weekend, and it's not a bonus. It's just another day, right? Because it's on a weekend. But having it on a Monday, that's fantastic. You can tack those races, on, and we have an extra long holiday weekend. So
it's always good for all us degenerates to get that extra bonus day of,
that's right,
of racing,
yeah.
Right?
So I just like screw like whatever holiday. It's like, okay, are we racing or not? We are? Great. That's where I'm at with it. So
yeah. Every holiday I look at now, it's like, well, what does this mean for racing? Yeah. Oh, great. Okay, cool. There's gonna be good racing. Otherwise it's like, it's Christmas shit. I guess I gotta wait till the 26th for the Malibu. So quick update here, non-racing related. I gotta say, the wrestling gift has been a huge hit in the Welch household. Like, it's taken over to a new level. In fact, they didn't ask for it really. This is partly my fault, but I bought a Sting and a character for the wrestling ring. So now we have 4 guys, and they randomly, I put them in random spots every night when they're here, so that's fun. But now the boys have like evolved, and it's funny. It's just like what we used to do as kids. Like now they wrestle for real. Like it's so funny how they've gone past. They still play with the guys, but now it's like, who's that guy? That's who I am, And the other night, Cooper ripped his shirt off and was flexing, and it's classic. So I don't know whether to thank you or be upset with you.
Kids love wrestling, man. They love wrestling. And Steve, I absolutely bought all that from Walmart that I gave to Jared's kids. Yes, I went to Walmart immediately and bought what they had asked for. I did not order it online through Amazon, Mr. Steve.
I hate to say, I did order the Sting from Amazon, but
to be fair,
they didn't have it. They didn't have it at Walmart.
So Walmart did not have the Sting, or I would have got it for him. So he had no choice.
Get the shit together, Steve. Okay,
what's the matter with you?
Where's Sting
at the Joplin Walmart now, Steve?
No, but it's been awesome. It really has. It's fun to kind of relive some of that, and it cracks me up. It's so funny to watch. I get a kick out of it. The other night I had they came out. I think one of them was Sting, so I played the Sting intro music. One of them was Goldberg, so of course I had that. And Cooper, without even asking, ripped his shirt off. It was hilarious. And they were wrestling back and forth, and I kind of snuck out of the room and blared the Stone Cold intro music and just came running to the room, ripped my shirt off, and I was yelling and of course they don't know who he is, so they just thought I was nuts. And then of course we wrestled and they beat me, so it was amazing.
It's kind of funny, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if you have them watch the current product that's out right now and start to get into it, like I told you to do like a year ago. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get you into it.
If someone would invite me over when it's on, like the next day, you're like, there's like some sort of pay-per-view, and you didn't invite me over. So if you would have done that, we could have watched it.
The last time you were over here and wrestling was on, you made fun of it for 2 hours while it was on. So you're not coming back.
I'm a different man now. Okay. Things have changed. My boys like it, so now it's a totally different. I don't care if you like it. My boys like it. It changes everything.
That's why there you go. That's why kids are the best, right? That's
right.
They teach you something every day. And today, or I guess this weekend, whatever, they taught you that you're really lame if you don't like wrestling.
And somehow, and I don't know how this happened, because you've always been like, they always like, oh, stinky Aaron, they like to give you a hard time and stuff. And now it's like you're amazing to them. You're like, I was giving you crap, and they're like, hey, don't say that about Aaron. He bought us wrestling, guys. I'm like, okay.
It's amazing what money will do. Money
you literally could buy their love. Yes, exactly. You learned something here. So
money and gifts. It works for everybody.
No age is discriminated against. You can buy love for any age. And Steve, you know what we're talking about, right? You can buy love for women too. So there you go.
I'm not touching that.
All right, let's get to it. Today's show. We're going to preview and give picks for Saturday's $750,000 Stephen Foster Stakes at Churchill Downs, the Breeders' Cup Winning Ring Challenge Series event for the Longines Classic. Then we're going to do some rapid fire for the remaining stakes action this weekend at Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, and Gulfstream Park. Let's go. Hey, I'm just saying, like, it works.
I'm sure it does work, yeah.
We all know, like, if you're in the doghouse or things are a little rough, like even like a nice dinner or something, that it can fix everything.
Yes,
that's all it takes.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't have that problem though anymore. So
no, you don't have to worry about that.
All right, look at this race. Come on.
All right, here we go.
Saturday, Churchill Downs, race 10, the Stephen Foster Stakes. It's a grade 2 with $750K for 4-year-olds and up, going 1.8 miles, and it is a Breeders' Cup win and you're in event for the Longines Classic this fall at Keeneland. I believe it's, what is that, November 6th? I think it is November 6th. 5th or 6th.
5th or the 6th, yeah.
Yes, one of those days. Just show up 4th or 5th and you won't miss it. So anyways, field of 7 lines up for this race. And, we talked a little bit about this in the opening, and we didn't really know what this, weeks ago. It's like, Stephen Foster, that's kind of going to come up lame. Not so much. Field of 7, 2-1 on Mandaloon, the 6 horse, but you also have Olympiad, who's just done nothing but win as of late at 5-2. And then, oh, by the way, you've got American Revolution at 7-2. Luis Saez making sure to ride him again here. Like he's got to be better than he was last time, right? And then if you want to add in a mix, I mean, there's a few in here that are interesting. Proxy, Last Samurai, now with Lucas, Cattle River. Talk about a horse that's done nothing but win as of late. So there's plenty of options, whether you want to go chalky, if you think one of these powerhouse horses can get the job done, or if you think they're overrated and want to try to beat them, there's options there as well.
It's a big time head scratcher. There's a lot of different ways you can go. The favorite is Mandaloon. If you wanted to go that way, I can't really say that I blame you. His one race in the United States this year, I think, is good enough to win this one when he won the Grade 3 Louisiana Stakes at Fairgrounds. But he's also 2-1, and this is a field that, it's hard to take any horses 2-1. They look a lot alike. What about the big horse here, number 3 Olympiads, won 4 races in a row. Certainly seems to be the toughest, race of yet for him. So we'll see how it goes. Gosh, I can't get away from American Revolution off that last race. It was just too bad to believe, right?
Right. Yes. I think we're on the same page there.
He's got to be better. You mentioned the Luis Saez thing. It's not going to hurt. I have no idea why Saez was on Proxy and not this horse last time out. That's kind of where I'm leaning, is American Revolution.
I'm with you. Okay, so the thing is you got to look at it from, I think if you're going to try to beat Mandaloon, this is it. The Saudi Cup was a disaster. Hasn't been seen since, and don't forget that was back in February. So what is, yes, he was very good in Louisiana, don't get me wrong. But he also lost to Haskell. Technically he did not, but he lost to Haskell. The Derby he lost, another one he did win. But you know what I mean? I still feel like he still needs to break through, and off that kind of layoff, I'd almost rather use, to be honest, if we're talking about Brad Cox horses, I think I'd rather use the horse on the inside. Cattle River, if we're talking Brad Cox horses, because that horse has just been on fire as of late and somehow is running kind of what we thought maybe he was long ago, it seems like. So as from a value perspective, he offers much more value in my opinion. And the Olympiad, I would imagine, is probably going to go off the favorite. I would be surprised. Wouldn't you be surprised if Olympiad's not the favorite? 5-2 seems like a dream.
It kind of feels like he's going to be favored here, but look, Mandaloon is definitely a highlight horse, so it's kind of a tough call. I think it will be Olympiad. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I really like Olympiad. I've picked Olympiad in all these recent victories. I just don't know that I want to play him at that short of a price, 9-5, 2-1 today. I don't know if I want to do it. In a race of this caliber, and he'll be on my pick 4 and pick 5 ticket, but I don't know if I want to put him on top. I just kind of want to go for a little bit more of a value, and I think it's going to happen on American Revolution. I think we'll get every bit of 7-2 on him, and I'm with you on Mandaloon. Another one, not going to be shocked at all if he wins, but boy, I don't know if I want to swallow 2-1 on that horse.
Yeah, from a value perspective, the 2 seems to be. You're going to get the most bang for your dollar, and as most people say during this time of the year for the 4th of July. But yeah, it just seems that way. And I'm with you. If he runs his race and just gets beat, then that's one thing. But he was, not only was he too bad to believe in the blame, but he also was coming off of the layoff. He had a new jockey. flow. It was I wouldn't say it's a bad ride, but it was a weird ride. He had him real wide in the first turn. Then he had him real close to the pace, which wasn't soft at all. And then kind of off of it and then back. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't that fluid ride you're used to seeing with Saez. Kind of that one, sit close, make that one run. You're going to get it here. And so to me, we didn't see the best. There's nothing to suggest that, he's a horse that, he won the Cigar Mile, but he also won the race before that by almost 12 lengths, and it was a 1.8 race. So it's not like the distance, in my opinion, had anything to do with him not running well in the blame. And him showing back up here gives me a lot of confidence that Pletcher kind of agrees, like, hey, that was too bad to believe. Saez could have rode, he could have rode over at Belmont. He could have been over there with stakes action going on. And he's here back with him after skipping the proxy thing. I have no idea. I remember us talking about that week. It was like, what the hell is that? And no one knows. And it makes sense now that he's back, of course. So I'm with you. I think out of the kind of the main contenders, you're going to get a good price, a true price on number 2, American Revolution.
He's had 2 solid workouts since that race at Churchill Downs where he was so bad. That was off of a layoff. Maybe he just kind of rounded the corner and he didn't have it. And he needed that race, and he's going to be a heck of a lot better. I just know if his top effort shows up here, they will have a hard time getting him. And they might do it, but he's going to make them work for it. And so that's kind of why I'm just going to give him one more shot. And I acknowledge Olympiad, Mandaloun, not easy horses to beat. He might run his best race and not get it done. I definitely acknowledge that that's possible, but I don't know. I just think his best race is going to be pretty tough to beat in this spot.
Well, that's just it. Like, at least, I don't feel like we got to see that from him in the last race to say, okay, he gave his best effort. He wasn't good enough. Now we're hopefully can get that here and then kind of find out, because, at the end of last year, I was like, man, this is going to be like a classic type horse, like if he can get him to develop, he's going to be a legit horse. So he obviously looks to rebound here. 2 horses that we haven't talked about yet that are kind of popped up in the chat, and I wanted to bring up as well. Steve wants to ask about Last Samurai. Of course, transferred now to D. Wayne Lucas, was with Dallas Stewart. People forget this. It seems like a lifetime ago, but this horse won the Oakland Handicap this year and did it impressively. Beat Fearless, who came back to win. Beat Plainsman that day. I mean, this, a horse prior to that, finished second to Lone Rock. Lone Rock very good at that time as well. So Last Samurai, what are your thoughts here? He definitely is not, like, him winning this race to me would not be a total shock.
No, definitely not. As far as why he's with Lucas, I'm not sure, but all of Willis Horton's horses are now with Lucas again. All of them that have been with Dallas Stewart are now been transferred to Lucas. I saw this start to pop up last week in the entry box at Churchill Downs, and we're seeing it again this week. So again, not quite sure why. I don't know what happened between Horton and Dallas Stewart, but Lucas is back in the picture after he got fired 4 or 5 years ago. He's back with Willis. So we'll see how that goes. As far as Last Samurai goes, boy, what an upset last time out. I, for one, did not see that coming. And not only did he win, he absolutely dominated. And not only did he dominate, the horse he beat, Fearless, came back to win on Belmont Stakes Day last time out. So it's not like he beat a dog. I don't know if he can recapture that kind of race or not. I kind of think that was his day. I don't think he can repeat it. But, I mean, at a price, he's interesting in the spot at the very least. I think a couple of these are going to have to not show up for him to make too much of an impact, though.
What about the horse down there on the inside? Cattle River has one of the faster early turn of foot, and as of late, the light bulb has appeared to have gone on with him as he's rattled off 3 in a row, and all 3 have just been complete and utter blowouts, and just been dominating fashion too. At Oakland, the last one. Where else? Churchill Downs. He's 2 for 2 at Churchill Downs. And people maybe forget as well, like, this is a horse that was once on the Derby trail, of course, finished second in the Arkansas Derby back in 2021. Kind of struggled a little bit after that. And then has since figured things out, apparently. And yes, is a step back up, a big step, but the way he's been running those races, it's a deserved spot for him to enter, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be a little bit long-winded with this answer, but I think it's important. I remember way back his fourth start of the year, or his career, I should say, January 22nd of 2021. He dominated the Smarty Jones Stakes, and Brad Cox was so high on this horse. And if you watch the local interviews they did at Oaklawn after that race, my goodness, he was high on this horse. This horse was beyond bad next time out in the Rebel. But Brad Cox didn't blink. He sent him to the Arkansas Derby. He got second in one of the worst Arkansas Derbies ever. So it really wasn't that good of a performance. Then he went to the Woody Stevens. He was nowhere to be found. And it's just like, wow, Brad Cox was so off about this horse. Well, he comes back on December 19th. He wins, but gets disqualified, but he looked a lot better. So okay, maybe he's back. Then on January 22nd, he's 6-5, and he's sixth, beating 14 in an allowance at Oaklawn. He comes back and was third in a pretty weak allowance at Oaklawn, and I'm like, he just sucks. And then he rattles off 3 in a row, like you just said. And not only has he rattled off 3 in a row, they haven't been close. 5 3/4, 5.5, 4.5. He's earned the spot. I have no idea if he's going to be able to rise to the occasion and get that big graded stakes win. But the whole point of that was Brad Cox has been high on this horse ever since that big win. He's given him chances. So now he's back getting a graded stakes chance here.
Yeah, I think the key, like you kind of mentioned, is we still don't know, but the fact that the thought of him being a really good horse was always there with him. And so now that he's running better than maybe he ever has, here he shows up in a proper spot, it seems like. And, I think drawing the rail, I think his early speed, he's going to be sitting in a nice position. Yeah, I think you should, I would think, can at least see, okay, how good is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a little bit of the test, right? There was a time where they kind of thought Caddo River and Mandaloun were pretty competitive with each other from a talent standpoint within that barn, right? Now, I think by the time we got to April, they thought Mandaloun was the better horse. But early in that year, last year, they kind of thought these two were kind of equal. I don't know about you. I'll take Ricardo Santana over Florent Giroux as far as a jockey goes, too. I know Florent is the number one rider for Brad Cox. He obviously is going to get on the best horse. But if Caddo River can show up here, I have confidence Ricardo will give this horse a good ride. I think at 10-1, he makes sense to take a shot with. Can he win? I don't know. He's going to have to rise to the occasion, like I said, but I'm telling you, the last 2 allowances in particular, if you go back and watch those races, they were very good. The first allowance, it was a kind of a field that wasn't that great. He didn't look just great, but the last 2, he's looked good. So he's in the mix. He definitely is. And Cox doesn't just throw in horses for the hell of it. So if he's in the race, he's got a shot.
Yeah, I'm with you. He, to me, like I said, from a value perspective, from a more intriguing perspective, I'm heavier on on Caddo River than I am Mandaloun in this race. I just think Caddo River's doing this, whereas Mandaloun is kind of straight line. We don't really know what to expect with him. Now, clearly, he could come out and eat Caddo River, and but from a perspective of value, you're getting 10-1 versus 2-1 or whatever the price you're going to end up getting. I think it's more than fair and more of a time to play him in this race. So I like him quite a bit here. I ultimately am with you. I can't get past American Revolution here from the ultimate value perspective. So he's going to be the top pick. But from a bigger picture, a bigger standpoint, this is, of course, a Breeders' Cup winning you're in for the Classic. What of these horses do you think are serious and could kind of use this as a kind of a launching point for the second half of the year?
The way I look at it, you got 2 horses that are kind of on the fence, and a win here would go a long ways. The 1 Caddo River and the 2 American Revolution. Now, I say on the fence because that last race was not good from him. and maybe he kind of, he left it all on the track last year, the number 2 American Revolution, and maybe he doesn't come back quite right. This is a big race for him one way or the other. So those two are kind of on the fence. A win would really propel them. And then Olympiad and Mandaloun, those are horses that are ranked right now in the top 10 of this Breeders' Cup Classic poll that came out, what was that, Monday or Tuesday of this week. They don't necessarily have to win to kind of stay in the rankings, but they need to have good performances. But those are the two that you take serious coming into this race, Olympiad and Mandaloun, with Cattle Rivet or American Revolution with a big win can jump right up in there. So I'm looking at all 4 of them on Saturday and saying, okay, how do they perform? Who comes out of this? And how do they stack up between those 4? And like I said, the other 3 aren't bad horses. I just don't know that they're Breeders' Cup Classic horses.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time, and obviously you've got to start somewhere, and so this is the race to do that for a bunch of these. Even a horse like Mandaloun, we've got to see something from him, right? You talked about the top 10 of the Breeders' Cup. You and I are part of that ranking every week until the Breeders' Cup Classic, and I think you and I, for the top 6, I think you and I were exactly the same, I want to say. And so, and I know number 6, I had Mandaloun, and number 5, I had Olympiad. We'll talk a little bit about Life is Good here in a little bit, who I have number 3. But yeah, I mean, Olympiad is one of those that I've kind of been on a wait and see approach with him. Like, he's in the 5 spot, but a win here would certainly, bump him up. Of course, we're waiting to see what Country Grammar does coming back, of course, with Bob Baffert back, maybe. I don't know. Right? Maybe. We'll see. Hot Rod Charlie, can he win in one of those races? I have him 4, and I have Flightline 1, and Life is Good 3. So those are horses that, certainly still have a lot to prove. Can Life is Good win at that classic distance? Is Flightline, is he a classic horse? So lots to be. That this division is wildly open at the moment.
Well, it's weird because the number 1 horse hasn't had a race over a mile ever. The number 2 horse hasn't ran in the United States this year. The number 3 horse got beat at 1.25 miles in his only race at that distance. And the number 4 horse is Hot Rod Charlie, who seemingly tries every way he can to lose races he should win. And then number 5, you get to Olympiad, who around 2 turns in this country is the most proven horse this year, as far as he just is reeling off wins. So it's an odd division that has a lot to be sorted out, and it starts right here this weekend.
If Olympiad were to win this race, or I'll just put both of them in, Mandaloun or Olympiad, we have them 5 and 6 in our classic rankings. How far up do they go? And of course, we also are going to see Life is Good on the same day, so that might factor in as well. But let's assume that Life is Good can win, and one of Olympiad or Mandaloun win this race. How far up could you bump them?
Well, they 100% will jump up over Hot Rod Charlie, whoever wins this. And I would think, depending on what Life is Good, if Life is Good loses, obviously they'll jump him as well. But I think 3 or 4 is about as high as they'll go, unless it's just an incredibly impressive, victory for one of those 2.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say, and I think Flightline's an interesting. He got like 22 or 23, I want to say, first place votes in the first ranking. So obviously, he was a very popular choice in the first spot. And I think for me personally, because I went back and forth, like, can I rank him 1 because he's, like you said, he's never ran over a mile. But at the same time, what are the connections saying? They're going to point to the Classic. As of now, he's going Pacific Classic. That's the plan, right? He is a classic horse as of right now. Who's the most talented horse in training right now? I think it's Flightline. So you're telling me the horse that's pointing to the Classic, who I also think is the most talented horse in the country. So that's where I was at. I was like, okay, how can I not? Now, obviously, the Pacific Classic, things could change, right? If we see that he's not a classic kind of horse or whatever, then of course but until proven otherwise, I felt comfortable putting Flightline. And honestly, I don't know, even if Life is Good were to win the Whitney, I don't know if I could bump him out of there.
it's easy to kind of sit and talk about scenarios when you don't see the race unfold. Like, Saturday we'll probably have a little bit different opinion on it because, what if it's Olympiad and Mandaluna? They just go head to head the whole stretch and they're 8 lengths clear of everybody else. Well, whoever wins and loses that race, if it's close and they're clear of everybody else, they're not going to gain a whole lot on one or the other, right? I mean, so it's easy to kind of, hey, we're kind of in a bubble here, and this is what we think is going to happen, and this is how we'll rank it. But how they look, how they win, what they overcome or not, will make a big part of it as well.
Exactly. In the summer, obviously, like you mentioned, July is going to be hot, and we also we didn't even mention some of these horses on the bottom end, which is like Epicenters and Modonagals and Zandon and early voting, whoever you want to throw in there. These 3-year-olds, like one of those guys, kind of continue to improve over the summer and really shake up that top 10. So yeah, lots to change, but obviously the 5 and the 6, Olympiad and Mandaloun, they look to improve their rankings here in the Stephen Foster final pick. Halterman, you're on American Revolution, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go to American Revolution. I'm going to give you one more shot. Hopefully he doesn't make me look silly, but that's who I'll go with.
It's mine too. I think you have to demand that 7-2 price. I think you'll get it. That's kind of a key part of this, I think, is you're getting value on him when he's been the favorite the last few times. So I'm with you. I think it's his race this time around, number 2, American Revolution.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what Mandaloun does. I think he either kind of rolls here or he just kind of runs in place. I'd say one or the other. I wouldn't play him just to show. Put it that way. If you're going to play him to win.
Yeah. It's it. Well, I mean, the likelihood of all 3 like running top 3 is probably unlikely. So one of them is going to bounce, so to speak, or not run great, right? Right. American Revolution, Olympiad, or Mandaloun. It probably would be. It feels like Olympiad. I will say this: Olympiad certainly feels like the horse of the whole bunch of the whole race that you can count on running, right? As far as like he'll give you an effort. His question mark isn't is he talented or is he gonna bounce or is he gonna not fire? His question is what level is he? Can he beat a group like this? Can he continue to run that kind of race? I think the second question for him, for me personally, as far as ranking him, and can Mott keep him this good if he wins here? Can Mott keep him this good up until the Classic?
It's a long ways. And that'd be 5 races already, and you got to think Saratoga would be next. And yeah, I mean we'll see.
Tougher races. It's tougher races certainly too than he's been racing. So the races are only going to get tougher these next few as well.
Yeah, for sure. This is a big proving ground for that horse. And not that I think he can't do it. I do think Olympiad can do it, but it's a big proving ground.
Certainly it is. And that's, again, I think why, trying to beat him here makes some sense just because it's, again, another race that he's going to have to continue to improve. All right, let's do some rapid fire. We're going to do the 2 at Belmont on Saturday, the Johnny Newrood and the Dwyer. We're going to do the Fleur de Lis. Someone asked about Pauling's Pearl. We'll talk about that race here coming up. And then we got 2 at Gulfstream Park, the Smile Sprint, drain the clocks in that one. And the Princess Rooney, the Breeders' Cup, another Breeders' Cup winning you're in for the Filly Mare Sprint. And it's going to, like you said, mention CC's in that one, but it's that one's an interesting race as well. And CC obviously hasn't been ultra great this year. So maybe an opportunity to try to beat her. We'll see. So what is that? 2, 3, 4, 5 rapid fires. So
got a lot.
Let's do it. Time for rapid fire presented by BetPTC. Bet with the racing dudes at BetPTC.com and get $200 new member bonus. BetPTC.com offers that you get that back as soon. What is it, Halterman? As soon as you make up to, I think it's like maybe $800 in wagers, you get that $200 credit.
Yes.
You also talk a little bit about the rebates you've been getting.
Yeah, so the rebate, it depends on the track, but you get the rebate immediately when that race goes official. You do get that rebate. It's 3 to 5%, like I said, depending on the track. But like I said, so if I bet $100 to win on a horse, I'll get $3 to $5 just for free back in my account once that race goes official. So, if you're betting a lot, that's really going to add up and help you kind of try to beat that takeout a little bit. And yeah, the best thing about it, I've had other places where you get rebates, but they're paid out late and you kind of lose track of it. Where here is bam, as soon as that race goes official, that rebate hits your account.
BetPTC.com, enter promo code DUDES to get that $200 new member bonus, and of course, those rebates immediately. All right. Let's kick things off with a doozy of a race, kind of an unexpected doozy of a race. We're going to Belmont Park on Saturday, race 4, the Johnny Neward Stakes, grade 2. $250K for 4-year-olds and up, going 7 furlongs, and field of 5 shows up. But let's talk about the inside and talk about the outside. Life is Good versus Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner has to face yet another monster here at Belmont Park. What are your thoughts here? And can Life is Good be beat on his return from the Dubai?
I mean, there's a horse in here that can beat him if he's not ready to show his best, and that is Speaker's Corner. But my goodness, if Life is Good shows up and he is the goods and he's ready to roll here, I don't think Speaker's Corner can beat him. And God, I hate that because I really, really like Speaker's Corner as a horse. I've liked him all year. We've made good money on Speaker's Corner all year. I can't pick him to beat Life is Good at 7 furlongs. Are you kidding me? This is a great distance for Life is Good. Like I said, maybe he bounces. Who knows? We cannot predict how they're going to come back from Saudi or Dubai. Sometimes they come back and they're fine, and sometimes they bounce. So if you feel like he's going to bounce, go ahead and take Speaker's Corner. I feel like he's going to run a great race. And if he does, I'm sorry, Speaker's Corner. I love you, but you're not going to beat Life is Good. You're just not.
Unfortunately for Speaker's Corner, it just feels an awful lot like that mid-mile where you're just like, damn, I mean, what can you do? You're not as fast as Life is Good. And it worked out as best it possibly could have for Speaker's Corner last time because he was able to cut off Flightline a couple times and at least get that jump on him, which of course proved to be meaningless. But Life is Good drawing the rail. He's just plain and simple, he's just faster. If you go back to that, the only time he's ran 7 furlongs, which was maybe his best race of his career in the Jerkins where he lost to Jackie's Warrior, but just an unbelievable effort. And the horse runs 21-44, and that's kind of his go-to when he runs these mile or less races. He just flat blazes. And we said the same thing about Speaker's Corner when he was up against Flightline. It was like, he can't run that fast. He just doesn't. And it just seems like on paper, there's no way Speaker's Corner, it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations again. And it's unfortunate for him because he's a good horse. Like you said, he's just having to face against 2 monsters here. So I just don't see a way Life is Good loses here. Now, of course, this isn't the goal, right? If you want to take that angle, then maybe he's vulnerable like the Whitney and the Classic. They're still on that kind of, that's where they're wanting to go. Whereas Speaker's Corner, this may be more in his wheelhouse, right? This is more of his thing. He's, 2 for 3 at Belmont, 3 for 3 at this distance. That's more of what he likes to do, this running. So if you want to go that angle, but bottom line is I think he's just not as fast as Life is Good. Do you think, I wanted to ask you before we moved on, do you think this is a situation similar? One of our best bets of that Belmont day in the wagering guide was playing a huge exacta on Flightline over Happy Saver and not using Speaker's Corner in the second spot because we both love Flightline and we didn't think that if Speaker's Corner would either win or he was off the board. And if we like Flightline so much, we just tossed him. Do you think that's a situation here where this is similar?
I don't. No. You look at the other 3 horses in this race, it ain't good. right? And I also think what's going to happen this time, Life is Good from the rail. And yes, I know Flatline was on the rail last time as well. It got outbroke and lost the lead. I think they learned their lesson of we can't just go out and blaze. This horse will go by us. I think Life is Good gets to the front. And so I think Speaker's Corner sits off a little bit and then kind of tries to run him down. I don't think it'll be successful, but you think about it. What's your best path to winning this race if you're Speaker's Corner? I don't think it's to go head and head with Life is Good early. I think it's just let him go. Don't let him like 8 lengths ahead or anything, but try to keep him within range, and then hopefully he bounces, and he backs up a little bit. He's not quite ready, and then you can go get him. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. The long answer to that, I just think these horses are going to run 1-2. It's just a matter of, who do you think is going to run best on this day?
I mean, there was a time, especially early in Speaker's Corner, his career, that he was coming. We look back to that nice allowance when he won at Saratoga last summer, where he came from out of it. Not out of it, but like he stalks and then pounced late. So that's what you would hope to do, right? In here, like you said, hope Life is Good just isn't. Great coming back from the return, and that you can pick him up late in that, the stretch there. Because like you said, if you try to go nose to nose, I think we learned what that does, and it ain't going to work. So if you're trying to win this race, which I assume they are, since they rerouted to run here, I think that's your best opportunity to win, is by letting Life is Good just go, and you sit off of them and hope that you can have something left there at the end. So this is a doozy of a race. This isn't a Breeders' Cup win you're in, but make no mistake, these horses, especially the one Life is Good, is he a classic horse? Is he going to win the dirt mile? Point to the dirt mile again, win it maybe two years in a row. He's truly he's almost forgotten because of Flightline, right? What is he? We haven't seen him since March, so it'd be good to have him back. And obviously, I think sky's the limit on what he could be and what route they choose to go with him moving forward. All right, let's talk about horses that maybe have some potential. I don't want to compare him to Life is Good, but a few races later, race 8, the Dwyer, grade 3, $250K for 3-year-olds going 1 mile. Field of 6 shows up here at 4-5 on the 1. Another 1 horse, Charge It. Yeah, that's right. Charge It is back from the Kentucky Derby. And another situation where you get the horse on the inside, horse on the outside. Nabokov, the 2-1 horse for Chad Brown with Pratt aboard. This one, man, I had a hard time trying to figure out how to bet this one, because Charge It is the best horse in the race, but what is he? And he's coming off of that terrible Derby where apparently he displaced his palate and they had a minor surgery, which they do a lot. It's very common these days, but still coming off surgery. I don't know. What do you think of Charge It here?
If you watched the show last time with my dad, we were kind of like, I don't know about Charge It. I don't know what to do with him. I've kind of said, don't overthink this. This is not a good field. He should beat him. I'm on Charge It. I think if you really take out the Derby, which was a complete non-effort for him, and look, we said going into it, he's not good enough, right? He's not good enough. He's not ready for this.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster, and we kind of thought it was a disaster. I think he pops out of it and he runs really well. Last night I was like, well, he lost to Wida Barrio, and Wida Barrio came back to lose, which is true. But you know what? Wida Barrio would be 1-9 against this group. So I'm with Charge It. I get the love for Nabokov. I understand it. I don't think he's quite good enough to beat Charge It. So I am going to put Charge It on top here. I may end up singling him. Just depends on what I think about the rest of the sequence. But end of the day, by the time I was done handicapping, I kind of thought Charge It was going to be tough here.
Yeah, it's funny. I had the same kind of thought process. It was like, all right, I'm going to try to beat Charge It. Who am I using? Because he's, how can you trust him? Blah blah blah. And then the more I thought about it, the more I looked. I was at some points was kind of flirting with picking Unbridled Bomber on top, and it's like, really, you're going to use that horse to beat? I get that he was bad in the Derby, but he's got the real draw. He's going to go to the lead. Like, I don't think there's any doubt. He's just going to go lead. Got Johnny Velasquez aboard, which, by the way, Luis Saez is a regular rider. Where's he at? He's at Churchill. Who's he riding? American Revolution. So he decided to stay with American Revolution or go back to American Revolution, not ride Charge It here, or stay at Belmont Park for that matter. So you get Johnny V, who knows something about, getting to the lead. And to me, that's what you're going to see here. And yeah, he's back at a mile where he was very, very good early in his career. I just don't see, I just think he's much better than the rest of them ultimately. So to me, I just couldn't get past Charge It. And I'll ask you the similar question that I asked about that classic when you're in. What is Charge It? Okay, you win say he wins here, you win the Dwyer, great. But what is he? Is he a Travers type winner? Can he do that? Is he, he's obviously bred very, very nicely. What is he, do you think, long term?
That's a great question. I'm so on the fence with, is he good or is he just okay or what? I don't think he can win the Travers, but I think he can develop into a horse that maybe can, it may at least make an impact in one of the big races, get third, maybe give a scare to somebody who could win. I don't know ultimately what he's going to be, but I do think he's going to win here and he's going to look decent, and you're going to think about races like the Jim Dandy and the Travers and stuff like that for him. If he doesn't win here, you're probably going to go to a race like the Curlin next, and I think that's going to be pretty disappointing. So this is a pivotal race for him to see what he's ultimately going to be this summer. You got to kind of start building that resume now and building that confidence for him. I don't know. I think he can make an impact in some of those big races if he shows out here.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a pretty high ceiling. I think he could also have a pretty low floor. It's a very wide. He's got a very wide variety that's possible with him. So be interesting to see. But for this race, for the Dwyer, you and I are both on. We're not getting fancy here. We're both on number 1. Charge It.
I want to hop in real quick on this comment. Okay. He says his habits get in the way. The problem is he's had no chance to work out any of these problems. Right? He won a maiden and he went right into the deep into the pool.
Right to the Florida Derby. Yeah,
and it's hard. It's hard to try to work out problems in grade 1 races. And so that, they've had to push him to get there, and now he's here in a spot where maybe we can work out a little bit of problems. Maybe we can use this race as kind of a little bit more of an experiment on him. So I'm not ready to call this horse dumb or he's got bad habits just yet.
Well, I really didn't think we'd see him until Saratoga, which I get, we're only a few weeks away. But the fact that he shows up here tells me he's ready to run. Fletcher's like, all right, let's get him a race, and obviously set him up for those bigger 3-year-old races in the year at Saratoga. But the fact that he's here, the fact that he's ready to run, you got to think all systems are go for him. And I'm with you. Like, you go straight from the maiden special weight to the Florida Derby, where you probably win if you're not, weaving around and whatever. And then, of course, the Kentucky Derby, you're not only that, you're 20 horse field, but you also just, apparently displace your palate, and you're never, you literally can scratch that one out, as you can for a lot of horses in the Kentucky Derby. So,
the bottom line is the first 2 races when he was running 1-turn miles against Maiden Company, nobody was talking about any bad habits that he had. Everybody's like, oh, right. He's a monster. Oh, this horse. Well, yeah, he ran 2 turns for the first time in 1 1/8 miles against grade 1 company. He had a wide trip the whole time. He had a way different trip than he's ever had, and he was weaving in and out in the lane. Okay, he probably had every right to. And then the Derby, he couldn't breathe. So, now if he gets out in the Dwyer 1-turn mile here and he is just an idiot, then I'm kind of on that camp. But I think it's just more inexperience and just doing things for the first time against horses it's a tough ask to do that against.
Well, say what you want about the Florida Derby. He beat the 4th place finisher Simplification in the Kentucky Derby, and he, the winner that day, Wide Barrio, while he wasn't great in the Kentucky Derby, he did come back and run a good race in the Ohio Derby of course, with Tawny Port. So, and Tawny Port didn't run super great. He ran okay, but he didn't run super great in the Kentucky Derby. And of course, he rebounded. So, point is, it's not an end-all be-all what you saw in the Kentucky Derby. So, how he bounces out of that. And I think you and I are both on the same page, believing that he does have a very high ceiling of what he could be. It just needs time to develop. And hopefully he gets that time over the next couple of months. All right, let's go to Churchill Downs, back to Churchill Downs for the undercard of the Stephen Foster. And that's race 8, the Fleur de Lis, grade 2, 350K. Fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, going 1 1/8 miles. I feel like these are all the inside horse versus the outside horse. And here we go again. Number 1, Super Quick at 2-1 versus the outside horse. Number 5, She Dares the Devil at 9-5. Or could it be the course that's 5-2, the horse just to the inside of She Dares the Devil? Pauline's Pearl. Those seem to be your top 3 contenders as they are on the morning line. Thoughts on Fleur de Lis?
This is a super tricky 5-horse field, isn't it? I mean, this is a weird field. I'm going to go back one more time to Pauline's Pearl. I don't know what happened last time out. It was just not a very good race whatsoever. But her races before that have all been very, very good. She's finished ahead of She Dares the Devil on 2 separate occasions this year. And I think that alone and her being 5-2 make her very valuable in this situation if we do indeed get that 5-2. I think She Dares the Devil and Super Quick might kind of wear each other out on the front end a little bit as well. So I'm going to go back to Pauline's Pearl one more time. Like I said, she's beat the favorite of this race twice already this year. She hadn't ran a bad race in a long time until that race last time out. I think she bounces back today.
Yeah, and who's aboard? Rosario. I mean, he's rode this horse 3 times, and not the last time, but the 3 prior to that. A win in the Law Train, a grade 1, second in the Zeri, and a win in the Houston Ladies Classic. So he knows a thing or two about winning on Pauline's Pearl. And I'm with you. I think that the pace setup here, for one, let's say that I think this: if Super Quick lives up to her name and is super quick for this race, she'll be tough to catch because she's fast. But I do think the fact that She Dares the Devil's in this race will not make things easy for either one of them. And really, it seems like the kind of race that Pauline's Pearl should win. And you guys mentioned it. You and your dad mentioned it, Papa Dude, on earlier this week on the Dude to Bed. It's like, She Dares the Devil, is she kind of starting to tail off just a little bit? She's 5 now, and she hasn't won a race since September, and I get they've been some tough races, but she just hasn't quite finished it off. Now she's back to Churchill Downs. She loves Churchill Downs. That's a key, but I think having Super Quick in the race makes her vulnerable. Yeah,
I agree, and it's going to be interesting to see how she runs because I don't think she's looked very good this year. So, she could prove me wrong. She's got a lot of class, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just thought 5-2 Pauline's Pearl. Even if she doesn't bounce back, 5-2 is a square enough price to give it a shot.
Yeah, seems like a lot of people like that 5-2, and considering who the other 2 horses are, might be trying to take shots to that Pauline's Pearl. We'll see if we get that 5-2. But I'm with you. I actually like the 4 Pauline's Pearl as well. I think she's dangerous. Hey, Jesse, going to be there at Sarah. That'll be fun. Look at that. We'll be at a few of those, I think, maybe. Right?
Yes, I believe maybe all of them. Who knows?
We'll see. We'll see what my travel agent has to say about all that. So I just go where I'm told. All right, let's go to Gulfstream Park now to finish things off. Race 7, the small sprint invitational, grade 300K for 3-year-olds and up, going 6 furlongs. Field of 6 shows up for this one. Number 3, Drain the Clock. Back with Safi, I should say, because of being over in Dubai. Let's start that over. He didn't leave Safi. He's back, trained by Safi. How about that? 6-5, Drain the Clock. Can he get it done?
I'm going to try to beat him. I've done well beating him in the past. I'm going to go with, the quote unquote now horse in this race. I'm going to go number 6, Willie Boy, on top here. This horse has won 2 in a row since coming back off of a long layoff, changing trainers to Delgado, a big trainer upgrade. Boy, he's been really, really strong. Like I said, hadn't been close to getting beat. it's no disrespect for Drain the Clock, but I just think this Willie Boy horse is coming along pretty well. And I think he can pull off just a mild upset over what I think will be like a 3-5 type in Drain the Clock.
Chantel, that's really why you're picking it, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I don't love this pick, but I did pick Drain the Clock. He loves Gulfstream Park. That was the biggest key for me. 4 wins and 6 starts, 2 seconds. So the horse has never been worse than second place at Gulfstream Park. And we know speed is awesome at Gulfstream, and this horse has a lot of it. So, he wasn't terrible in Dubai. He wasn't great either. Finished 7th that day, beaten 5 3/4. But prior to that, has been really good. He's been one of those horses that, he's capable of winning a grade 1 Woody Stevens. He's winning Bayshore, things like that. But then he also, can run, 4th or, barely win an allowance or lose in a sprint, a stake sprint at Gulfstream Park. So he's a frustrating horse, but I think just off this kind of layoff, I think Safi will have him right at his track at Gulfstream Park. So I'm with you, but I also would not love if you're like totally singling him here. I think he's vulnerable. Can he get a little weary toward late in that race? Who do you think will be on the lead, the 3 or the 6?
I think the 6. I really do. I don't know, man. This horse has really kind of blazed the last couple of races. That's a good question. I don't know. Last time out, the 6 did come kind of from out of it. I don't know. Maybe drawn on the inside, the 3 will actually be on the lead now I think about it. But I think the 6 will be right there close to him.
Yeah, the numbers, I don't know. I'm afraid that the 3 might be a little faster than the 6, and that might be the downfall to the 6 in turn, that not being able to get to the lead. Although he did. He won last time out, kind of coming off of it. But I want number 3, Drain the Clock in what is not a mild upset. Let's go to race 10, the final one here, the Princess Rooney Invitational Grade 2, 300K, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 7 furlongs. It is a Breeders' Cup. Winning you're in for the filly and mare sprint. And talking about the winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup, how about CC? 4-5 on CC, looking to repeat here. And you've got, I wouldn't say great options, but you have a few options in here, I think, that you can use to try to beat her. Thoughts?
I went with CC in this spot. This is a horse that I have trouble. I used to get her right every time. I have a lot of trouble getting her right now, in the last few races. I like the cutback. I like the class, and I think I'm going to just try to bet the class here and go with number 5, CC. I'm with you, though. You have some options, and I'm interested to see maybe if you try to go against her.
I am going to try. And maybe it's dumb. I think I've just been a little burned out a little bit by CC. Like, although she is back at Gulfstream and she does like this is more like up her alley for this distance, but I kind of went back to this horse who I kept watching replays and just kept coming back to her. And that last race especially just really wowed me. And the fact that Reyes is back on her. How about the 1, Spirit Wind, trying to go gate to wire in this thing? If you go back and watch her last race with Ralph Nix, that last race, that was nice. Like I get that it was in stakes or in kind of like a state bred type situation, but this horse has won 3 in a row, all by extended links. I get this is a huge test, a huge move up, but she's the speed of speed, and you're going to use that speed or that speed to get with her, I should say. 2 back, she beat a couple comeback winners, 3 back in that main special weight, she won by 15. So I just think there's enough upside with her at 6-1. I'm going to need 6-1 to be fair. But I like the way she's been running. So I look for her to have an upset here in this race.
It's a good pick. I thought about that horse for a while. That horse seems another one that's really kind of come on lately. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't hate that one. I think that's the one they're going to have to run down. There's no doubt. You asked who's going to get the lead in the last race we talked about. There's no doubt to me. Spirit Wind gets the lead in this race for sure.
Yeah, and that's That's a big thing for me, and that's a big angle for me in tournaments as well. When you have a race, you're trying to beat a favorite, a pretty heavy favorite as well in this race, and you have a horse that, no question about it, is the fastest horse in the race. Yeah, maybe the class, is too tough for her or whatever. That happens, of course, but you're going to get the run out of her, and she's going to be a price. That's what I like to see. I hate playing for like prices when it's like, oh, well, this needs to happen and this needs to happen and this, no, Spirit Wind just needs to be faster than the rest of them the whole way around, and then she wins. And that's really as easy as that. So that's why I went with number 1 Spirit Wind. I think you're going to get that 6-1. So I'm a number 1 Spirit Wind to get a ticket to the Breeders' Cup. Let's see. Magic Carrot says, I have this angle where I don't bet the winning horse on back-to-back yearly stakes. Accurate assessment. Thoughts on that? That's interesting. Of course, CC won this race last year.
They usually don't win them back-to-back years, so that's not a bad thing. I look at it more of a race-by-race, thing than, well, I automatically just toss that one because she or he won that race last year. But it's not terrible. They usually, especially when it's not like major races, when it's these type of races, I guess it's not a horrible race, but it's not one where they're like targeting every year and gearing up for. You usually don't see those back-to-back winners. So that's not horrible. No.
Well, it's tough to have a horse good enough to not just win it once, but then also be in the prime condition to do it again 1 year later,
Mm-hmm.
Whether even have a horse that it's hard to see a horse that even runs in a race, the same stakes race 2 years in a row, So,
yeah.
But this horse, obviously, McCarthy knows what he's doing, and having, the success that he had with her there last year in that race. She's all over the place, like sprints and the Zeri and the Apple Blossom and Santa Anita and Oaklawn and Saratoga and now Gulfstream. You know what I mean? Like, golly, that horse runs everywhere.
It's crazy. You just never know where she's going to pop up. I remember when she came here last year, like, what in the hell is she doing at Gulfstream? Oh, that's what she's doing, winning by 3 1/4. So,
yeah.
Listen, one thing about it, she's coming into this race in a lot better form than she was last year. Last year she'd beaten but 10 1/4 at the Santa Maria on May 22nd, and came over here July 3rd and dominated. So, this year she's looked pretty good in all of her starts. So we'll see. I just like the cutback this year for her. I just think she's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, she did win the Azeri this year. She also, lost Santa Monica. Of course, she got beat by Merneath and got second. She's one of those that, when she loses, she did lose to Latruska and Clairiere, who came back to win, but in the Apple Blossom got third. But this distance is obviously very good for her. But I would say she's hard to trust at 4 to 5. If you're comparing apples to apples or apples to oranges in some cases, like CC, your life is good. Give me life is good all day, every day. If they're both 4 to 5, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that. I definitely do get that. And for me, it was I just think she's just the class of the field, but I get if you're going to go against her, I wouldn't argue with that. No. Where if you're going against, say, Life is Good, I might argue with you.
Right. And she's going to have to run down my horse. I know that.
Oh, your horse will be on some tickets. There's no question. That horse has looked, like you said it. It looked very good last time out, especially.
She's the perfect tournament horse, in my opinion. If you're playing tournaments, Spirit Wind has got to be. I'll be using Spirit Wind because, like I said, you're either what you're going to get out of her, and turning for home, you're probably going to be in the lead, and you're going to hope that she holds on. So,
yeah.
All right, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racenews.com for our free picks and, of course, our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing News premium button at the menu at racenews.com to learn more. RacingNews.com. We are your destination site for all free horse racing picks to all the major horse racing tracks. We're on Twitter at @racing_dudes. Instagram and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the places you listen to, or find each episode on our YouTube page. Just search Racing Dudes on YouTube or youtube.com/Racing Dudes and find all our live Blinkers Off shows, Magic Mike shows, all the videos we do. Be on the lookout for my Stephen Foster. I did, what else did I do? I did Life is Good. What'd you do? What previews you got going on the web on the YouTube?
What did he make me do? The Dominion Day from Woodbine for some reason.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, and the Fleur de Lis. So yeah, I got. And then I'm gonna have Bashford Manor and the other 2-year-old race on Monday. I'll have those out probably tomorrow.
Okay. So just go to our YouTube page and see all the analysis and videos we do. There's a ton of stuff on there. The Magic Mike Show. Make sure you check out their show as well. They did the Belmont Park Saturday's late pick 4. So you want more analysis of that. Dwyer, I guess, would fall in there. Make sure to go check out their late pick 4 action on Saturday at Belmont Park. And I'll tee it up for you. I know you're ready. What do you want to know about AEW this week?
Well, it's been a fun week. So Sunday they did something very fun, Jared. They had a pay-per-view where they mixed in a wrestling league from Japan called New Japan Wrestling and AEW, and they mixed them in together. It was fantastic. If you like wrestling, Forbidden Door, definitely the show for you. I thought the 8 out of the 9 matches were great. The one match I didn't like was actually the last one. I'm not a huge Jon Moxley fan, and kind of it's the same match every time, whether he's fighting me or Jared or Hiroshi Tanahashi. It ends up being the same match, and I don't particularly like that style of match. But the other matches were great, and that led us up to Dynamite. By the way, FTR of the match they had on Forbidden Door was just awesome. And then you look at Dynamite last night. Had a little bit of everything for everybody. I liked the Luchasaurus heel turn with Christian Cage. I thought that was fantastic. Listen, Danhausen bringing out FTR, take on the Ass Boys and Max Caster was made my life. And then the Blood and Guts. Listen, if you like the blood and if you like those kind of matches, my God, did it not deliver? It was fantastic. There was blood and there may have been guts somewhere in that ring. It was good. I mean, and listen, the fans really responded. A really good buy rate for Forbidden Door, and we had over 1 million viewers last night for Dynamite, and that's fantastic. The #1 show on cable again last night. So I thought it was great. I thought it was really 2 really good shows after 2 or 3 weeks of kind of they weren't great shows. So these were good though, and Rampage is going to be great tomorrow night as well. I recommend watching that one. Yeah, there's Sting coming out of the pay-per-view. Amazing.
I mean, you sent this to me immediately, and I was like, holy shit, that is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then you got to think he's 60, what, 2?
63. Yeah, 63.
63 years old. And when you watched it live or I watched the video, I was like, it looked tall. But then you look at it this angle, you're like, holy shit. And he doesn't like he hits him, but he kind of misses him a little bit to the side. I mean, he hits fairly hard on the ground and just bounces back up. And it's just like, damn, dude, like I would still be on the ground, and I'm 36 years old if I did that.
He's incredible. He's incredible at being Sting. I mean, he's just unbelievable. His run in AEW, has just been incredible at 63 years old. Of course, I think he's hanging out with Darby Allin a little bit too much because, man, he's doing some wild stuff he didn't do in his younger days, jumping off shit like that. I mean, he's just really good at being Sting, and he had a great match. That match was very good on the pay-per-view as well. So, yeah, I mean, listen, if you're a wrestling fan and you haven't watched Forbidden Door, I mean, I would recommend it. It's a very good show. And like I said, AEW kind of had some things that didn't really make a lot of sense. They had a lot of injuries. They had a tough couple of weeks, and they've really ramped it back up. The pay-per-view was great. Last night was great. And then hopefully Friday night for Rampage will be really good. It's got a good lineup, so we'll see what happens with it.
More impressive.
Okay.
The Avs or Ole Miss?
God, it's really hard to compare baseball and hockey.
College baseball too.
Ole Miss was really impressive. I would go with the Avs, though. I think they're kind of an all-timer. And, Ole Miss, though, my God, they were dominant. But that's tough. I really feel like the Avs could have swept every series they were in. Like they were dominant against the Blues and it went 6 games somehow. They were dominant against Tampa and it went 6 games somehow. I mean, I'll go with the Avs.
I mean, that's hockey, right? You're going to have games like that. A puck bounces a different way or whatever, and that happens. I agree. I think I'm going to lean. I think it's more of like the recency factor, even though it both happened, but just the fact that like Ole Miss was not a good baseball team all year, really. No. I think at one point they were like 7-14, start off the year somewhere in that range. In the SEC tournament, I think they were like the 6th, 9th seed, somewhere in there. They were not good. And they lost 1 game in the postseason. And that was that miracle game, basically, that Arkansas tried to stay alive in game 2 of their series. Yeah. And they lost 1 time. That was it. They were dominant. And for a team to be that bad early on and that dominant late was impressive. And, and it I was rooting for OU for you, but it was just like, seeing the Ole Miss play previously in Arkansas is just like, you're not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. You could just tell, even whenever they were down in that game 2, you're like, you and I were texting back and forth, and like they were down, they were losing. They were like, well, OU's gonna need to score at least another run or 2 in order to win this thing, and they didn't. And of course, that would have, that was it.
Well, I mean, it's not OU was kind of like Ole Miss. They got hot at the right time, and they were on fire coming into that, and Ole Miss just stomped them. Game 1 and game 2 of that, it was like, yeah, OU's losing this game. It's just a matter of when. So, yeah, I mean, they were both really, really impressive. I got to hand it to Ole Miss, man. They were good, and their fans showed out. I'm a huge OU fan, but I was telling my uncle, I said, we're vastly missing in all other sports but football. That's all they care about. But it was like, I don't know how many people that holds that stadium, but it was 90% Ole Miss for that championship series.
I think it was like, I heard, I might be completely wrong, but I want to say it was roughly in the 30K range, and I would say 25 of them were Ole Miss fans. So yeah. And they hadn't won one, and that coach had been there forever and never won one. And so it was just kind of cool to see, especially considering, like I said, how bad they were not so long ago. The SEC tournament was not long ago.
No.
And so it was, and that was a fun, and of course, we both had teams in it. So we were kind of watching the whole time, the whole College World Series. So yeah, it was fun. And Ole Miss, they were dominant. So yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the Avs, I agree. The Avs are an all-timer, and you're more of a hockey guy than I am, but they just felt like it from the moment I started watching the postseason, the playoffs. I was just like, I bet I never lost a bet on the Avs this postseason.
Listen, they remind me of the 90s Red Wings type of teams. So they're just dominant. And hey, there's Darby. Oh, there she went. She left.
Who is it? What name did you come up with?
Darby. Her name's Darby. After Darby Allen.
Off the top ropes. I didn't know that was in the mix.
She's wild and crazy and fearless and reckless, just like Darby. So that's what we named her. And
I like her. She came Darby.
In for 2 seconds and just sprinted out of here. So I don't know where she went. But what was I talking about? Oh. Some of my family was like, the Blues, they didn't even play hard in that series. I'm like, you guys are so dumb. I mean, they're not as good as Colorado. They're not even close. Like, get over it. They were never going to beat them. You know what I mean? So that is what it is. But anyway, yeah, Darby's a cat name. So
Darby, I like it. I don't remember there was 2 names that you kind of threw around last week when you were here, and I didn't love either one of them. Darby, I can get on board with Darby. I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fits, even if you don't really know the wrestler. It's like, yeah, Darby's kind of a cool name. But yeah, she's doing good. She's recovered real well from the surgeries, and I think she's gonna be good.
All right, Darby. I like
She
it.
doesn't jump off the roof of the house, but we have like a ledge that goes down our steps, and she did jump off of those. So it was pretty wild. And when that happened, I looked at Heather and I said, "She's a Darby."
I'm sure Heather approved of the name.
I think she was okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just it, Dennis. You can kind of there's a Darby, like the English Darby, like we can kind of play into that a little bit. So it could be a Darby. I mean, Derby, whatever.
Yeah,
you can call it Derby in May and Darby the rest of the time. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks everybody for tuning in live, and of course, go to our YouTube page, check out more of our previews, and again, go check out the Magic Mike Show for the Belmont Park Saturday late pick 4. All right, I'm Jared Welch. I can't touch you, Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.